Another question mark on this, Browns team, we're continuing the trend of a lot of question marks. Nick Chubb. Still no timetable for him to return from his ACL and MCL injury that he suffered. He reworked his contract, which is a good sign that he's willing to work with the organization. But, this is an elite running back who's coming off of a couple major injuries here now. At this point in his career as well, what can we expect, right? We don't know when he's going to return, if it's going to be beginning of the season, middle of the season, if he doesn't come back. There's a lot of question marks. I'd assume at some point Nick Chubb comes back, probably mid-season, but is he going to be effective? Most players coming off of an ACL injury take at least a year to recover to look like them normal selves. So there's a lot of question marks with a big name in the fantasy community, which is Nick Chubb. We've seen him play well after an ACL injury before. How much do you trust him this year? So we have to see how the summer goes. I don't want to speculate on when I think he's going to come back or how healthy I think he's going to be. I just want to see Nick Chubb get back on the field. I think football is better when Nick Chubb is playing football. But this is a player, don't get so hyped and enamored on the name Nick Chubb thinking you can get a steal. Know that this is an injury and that it's going to take a process, and that this team also has other capable backs before they just give Nick Chubb full reins again like he used to have, if he's ever getting that role back. The team also had Jerome Ford, who played really well last year, who stepped up in Nick Chubb's absence to go along with Kareem Hunt. But Jerome Ford finishes the RB16 last year. And, it all depends on really who's in this backfield when the season starts, right? There's a lot of question marks still that remain. But he played well as the backup and as the starter. It was more of a complimentary role for him, with him and Kareem Hunt serving, as a dual tandem. But when you talk about 800 yards rushing at four rushing touchdowns, got it done through the air. He had 300 yards receiving, 5 receiving touchdowns. So no matter what happens with Jerome Ford, it looks like he's going to be in a split, and he's probably going to get touches. Say Nick Chubb comes back, Jerome Ford will be a viable option fantasy-wise. Now, he was an RB16 last year. I don't know where his value is going to be amongst ADP, but there's a chance that this could be another year of value for Jerome Ford, as people are probably going to say, Nick Chubb will be back at some point. Oh, they brought in Foreman. I kind of like what Jerome Ford brings as like a sneaky RB3-ish, 4-ish type running back who you can plug and play. Even in a backup role, he has value. Jerome Ford's a player that I would not want to draft, but just due to the nature of how things tend to fall in the draft, you could get him at sneaky value. He's not a player that I'm rushing to go get, but he will be in the value market for us. And then Foreman, he played well in spot starts for the Bears. I think this is more of a depth move for them. Kind of gives them what Kareem Hunt was, prepares them in case Nick Chubb is not ready to start the season. So I think he's a threat to split carries with Jerome Ford. I don't think Foreman has a lot of standalone value unless something happens to a back during the offseason. I think Foreman is a depth piece at best, bye week at best, even when he's the starting back. We saw that last year with the Chicago Bears, and we've seen it in the past with the Carolina Panthers. So Foreman, a name to note just in case something happens this offseason. If Chubb can't get back, something happens with Jerome Ford, I don't really think he's a threat to be a fantasy asset unless you're in a 16-team league.